Hello and welcome to today's book chat. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the novel City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. So I really didn't know what to expect because I've only ever read nonfiction by Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love, which I'm sure most of you have heard about. And though I loved aspects of that book, I didn't actually finish it, which is incredibly rare for me. Um, anyways, but I was excited and interested to read City of Girls. I saw an interview with the author on Marie Forleo's Marie TV, and it intrigued me. Marie loved it, and though I don't think I've ever heard her recommend a novel before, it was enough to make me interested. So, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert, and like, take a look at this cover. I love it. It's maybe one of my favorite covers I've seen in the last while. And it really speaks to the energy and the joy and just kind of the verve that is found in this book. It's set in 1940s New York, and it features a theater that's not doing all too well, but it still has the energy and the showgirls and just all of that excitement. So this book, especially in the first half of it, it simply brought me joy. It was so fun and delightful, and the cast of characters were just brimming with life, and the narrator especially just seemed like an old broad I'd like to sit down and, have a drink with and hear her recount stories of what life was. Simplistic yet poignant, just the type of woman you couldn't help smile about or with. Now, she's telling the story of her young life when she first moved to New York, I believe when she was 19, and Vivian, so the self that she's telling about, certainly isn't quite as interesting. She's a young woman trying to discover herself, trying to find out where she fits in the world. She comes from the higher echelons of society, and here she is with these people who definitely are not from that realm. And she also is coming into herself sexually, and it's hard not to mention that in this book. And I will say, if promiscuity is something that would turn you off in a book, then stay away from this one. It's certainly not presented erotically by in any means, but it is referenced continually that this woman believes in pleasure and believes in joy and is not going to feel guilty about it. And so I don't feel any need to really go into the plot too much, save to say that, well, the novel starts with all this excitement and joy and life and energy. As it progresses and as choices are made and consequences need to be dealt with, that tapers off some. But I think that made it realistic. Was I as excited and as delighted in the second half of the book? No, but I was still really engaged, and I ended the novel satisfied, for sure. So I will say, if you are the type of person who doesn't like a whole plot basically laid out for you, please do not read the description that the publishers have put up for this book, because it's kind of more of a synopsis, in all honesty. It tells you the main points for 90% of the book. And so I was really happy that I hadn't read the description, that I had just seen the interview and got kind of a feel for what it was about, and didn't have all of that laid out for me in advance. So yeah, City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. I feel there's more I should be saying. There is, and okay, it just came to me. Amongst all of the excitement and the fun, I think Elizabeth Gilbert was putting across a really interesting message. And in the interview, she talked about it as well, that so often society vilifies women for embracing their sexuality, and the consequences often completely ruin their lives. And you see this in fiction a lot of the time too, whereas she wanted to put across that that's not always the case. And she wanted to show that being a good girl doesn't necessarily mean you're a good person, and that being promiscuous or being someone who embraces their sexuality outside of the traditional confines of marriage doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And I think that she put that across in a lovely way. She did acknowledge that there can and often are going to be consequences for those choices, but it doesn't always have to completely destroy your life. And a lot of the time it doesn't. And yet often in fiction, especially traditionally, and especially at the time that City of Girls was originally set, would be the case. And so I found that really interesting. Again, I know I'm going to have some readers, some followers who aren't going to agree with this way of being and who would be put off or insulted by seeing such, I don't want to sound, I don't know how to phrase this, but such excessive promiscuity. Because let me say, and the character, the narrator, makes no bones about it, that this character has slept with a lot of men. And, you know, in one sentence, she estimates that she slept with, I think, something like half the men of New York, or, you know, a different one every night. And, you know, so there are a lot of reasons I would say not to do that. And I think most people would. But I did find, you know what, make your own conclusions. I just want to put out a warning to those people who would want to stay away from a book that not promotes, but I guess kind of appreciates that or embraces it. Anyways, this is getting really long. So Elizabeth Gilbert's City of Girls. If you want a link to read the first portion of the book, if you want to see a few more of my thoughts, you can head over to my website, charlenecarr.com. And yeah, it's a book I'm going to remember. It's a character I'm going to remember. And even if it's something, if some of the moral issues in it are not ones that strike you as something you'd want to indulge in, it might make you think a little bit. So yeah, pick it up if it sounds interesting, and I hope you enjoy. You can always leave comments. Let me know what you think. Okay, have a great day.